expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, party people! Welcome to a Friday episode of Running Point. It is Friday, the last show of the month of July, and the last Friday of July. We thank you so much for tuning in. We are always brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Look at Ty with a new backdrop. He is joining us from the beautiful state of Tennessee in Nashville. You're having a fun time. I heard you got there a lot earlier than expected yesterday.
Yeah, we had to walk around downtown for quite a few hours yesterday, but it was pretty cool. Went to the military museum, went to the state museum too, and just got to see a lot of like little cool artifacts. Walked downtown, went to a farmer's market. So it's cool down here in Nashville. Well, I'll tell you what though, this the Midwest humidity. You think it's hot in Ohio. It upticks a little bit down here too. We were walking around noon and it was getting hot.
Can we call Tennessee Midwest? I mean, they're like south of us.
I guess I mean it's kind of like in that territory though, because I mean like Kentucky's right above it, and then Missouri's just to the left of it
Well,
too.
Nashville is Western Tennessee.
Yeah, Nashville's more on the western side of
So
Tennessee.
I guess you could call it Midwest. I'll accept
Is Ohio technically Midwest too? I feel like Ohio's like right on the cusp of where like the Midwest.
It depends who you ask. I mean, like some people say Ohio is because we're in the Eastern time zone. We're not in the Central time zone.
Well, that's the thing. That's the only reason why I said Midwest, because we're actually an hour behind right now. It's 11 o'clock right now.
I feel like Midwest is once you get past that Central time zone. So, which Nashville is. Knoxville isn't. So that's what gets me confused, because I go to Knoxville every now and then to watch Tennessee softball.
Yeah. Well, Memphis is here. Memphis is on the other side of Tennessee, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Pigeon Forge, I know, is. Pigeon Forge.
Have you ever been there? I've
never been to Pigeon Forge. I know Pigeon Forge is on the eastern side of the state, though.
Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg is like it's a glorified tourist trap. Like it's just a bunch of wacky stores and over the top buildings that kind of it's almost like downtown Disney. Like the buildings are all like themed and over the top and it's a fun place to be.
People tell me too that obviously didn't know the state was telling me I need to go see the Smoky Mountains. Well, the Smoky Mountains are about 3 hours to.
They're in Knoxville. They're that way.
Yeah, so I'm way far away from the Smoky Mountains right now.
That is why the Tennessee fight song is Rocky Top, because they're in the Smokies.
I will say though, like walking around here though, like Music City is legit. Like there is an amphitheater, a stage. Quite literally every block you walk down, there's some sort of stage, amphitheater, and I mean music is out the wazoo here. I mean it's a really cool vibe here,
especially the country music, right? So I mean you go and there are probably country bars everywhere you go, and
it's probably fair to say almost every popular notable country artist has made their way through Nashville, Tennessee at some point in their career.
And of course, there's Dollywood, which is not in Nashville. Actually, it's in Pigeon Forge. So
yeah, it's a couple hours away.
You can't go there either. Sorry.
No, but they talk a lot of like Jack Daniel's distilleries and stuff like that. Is I think about an hour away from here too. So I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff here in Tennessee. I mean, the weather right now we're dealing with a little bit of rain, but it's hot and it was a cool first day.
All right, well, Ty, we have some not too many, but a couple of recaps to go over from yesterday. Boardman took their first loss of the regional. It was a 5-2 final score in the 12U softball regionals down there in Indiana. This was a game tie. They fell behind a little bit early. Missouri had that one big inning that was a 3-run. I think it was a 3-run fifth to make it from 2-0 to 5-0. Boardman tried to come back. They scored 2 in the final frame, which is the 6 and 12U. But they couldn't, and it wasn't like a bad softball game. It's not like Boardman played bad. They were just outplayed by a good team.
Happens. And I mean, when we get to this level, like you're at the regionals for the World Series, so you're going up against quite literally state's best team. So the competition level is evened out. Anybody can have a blowout victory. Anybody can have a victory against anybody. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'll let you know a little secret. That Illinois team that they beat too, Boardman did, was a pretty damn good softball team too, that probably didn't expect to come up short in that one. It happens. It's the sport. And sometimes it's just not your day. And that was unfortunately the case we saw with Boardman yesterday.
Yeah, I think they struggled with Missouri. And then, of course, they had to play today, this morning at 11. They're going on right now. And it's tough to come back from a loss. They're playing an Indiana team that lost the first day and has won out throughout since. So Indiana had a lot of momentum coming in, and they were, it's tough. They had a really tough first inning tie. They're down 11-0 right now. They're currently going on the bottom of the third. If they're able to keep Indiana without scoring more than 3 runs, they'll have one more at bat to try to score at least 2 to keep the game going into more than 4 innings. But they're struggling right now. They're definitely in a hole.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one to climb out of. But I mean, hey, you're not done yet, too. So you still got to try to put together a fight. But right now, you got to give credit to Missouri. I mean, coming out just firing, or Indiana, excuse me. I don't know why I said Missouri, Indiana. Just coming out firing on all cylinders. You put up 11 runs, like you're bound, determined, you're focused, and everything just seems to work out early on so far for Indiana.
You know what? It was the first couple runs, Ty. They scored on a couple of miscues by Boardman. You could tell Boardman was a little bit tight, a little bit kind of, feeling the pressure of the elimination game. But then Indiana was like a shark smelling blood, because as soon as they realized Boardman was a little bit off balance, their offense came alive. They were starting to hit the balls to the outfield, hit a hard ball down the line to the corner, hit a couple of gappers. It was like, a little bit of unsteadiness, and then just taking advantage of that really quick and just stomping, which is what good teams do when they sense a little bit of uncertainty on the opponent's side.
That's what you got to do. Absolutely. I mean, you got to take advantage of those few opportunities in a game you have. And right now, I mean, not missing.
If Boardman is able to come back and win, they will have to play again today at 2 against Missouri in the regional championship game. Winner there goes to the Little League World Series in Greenville, North Carolina.
It's exciting times, too, during this time of the year. We're hoping Boardman's able to put together a little bit of a fight and a comeback effort in this one.
The Scrappers last night, Ty, they played in a road game, which is just this weekend they're away, and then they come back home for 6 more. But they lost their first game in State College 11-9, a really high-scoring affair. Their overall record is still kept at 18-28, but remember, in the draft league, they kind of hit the reset button after the draft. So they are still in the middle of the standings as we speak right now for the second half of that draft league season.
It's an exciting time, too, to see these guys get an opportunity to start making a name for themselves in the second half of the Scrapper season, and still quite a few home games. You could see these new names and get a chance to see these guys try to make a name for themselves and try to get themselves in position to one day also be drafted to a major league team.
Scrappers are now 3-4 on the new reset season. Williamsport is 5-0. They got off to a hot start at the beginning of the first half of the season, but it was actually West Virginia that won the first half of that draft league season, and Williamsport fell off a little bit. So we'll see what happens as the season continues in the draft league. Scrappers are back in action tonight against State College. They'll be back in action tomorrow. And they'll have Sunday and Monday off, and then come back home on Tuesday for a 6-game homestand.
We're excited for it, certainly, as Scrappers look to come back home, too, for a couple more homestands before the end of the season.
If they can find a way to win this series in a state college, they come home with what would be a winning record, and that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely. Second year of the draft league, too. I mean, what more can you ask for, honestly?
Do you like this, the reset button? Instead of last year, what they did, they just kept the totals, right? And they just said the winner of the league after the end of, but like it's almost it's silly because it's a brand new team. It's like if you took the NFL upcoming season and told the Browns or the Steelers or the Patriots, whatever, you're the Patriots fan. You told them after week 8, you're going to have find a new quarterback, new running back, new offensive line, and new receivers, and then come out with a new team, and we'll see how you do.
Well, especially with like teams like Cleveland making this like a part of their system, again, the Mahoning Valley. I think like when you look at leagues like this, even in like the regular single, double, triple A's, like wins, losses, they're important, but they're not as important, right? Like the end all be all is developing these guys, getting enough major league talent ready to help support that major league team winning and losing. So I think like in this league too, I like that they separate it too, because like you said, it's two different teams. But at the end of the day, I love seeing that they're giving other guys an opportunity too. And the goal of this league is to develop guys, get them ready to be drafted into the majors too.
And correct me if I'm wrong. The guys that are playing now can still be signed to an undrafted free agency if an MLB team sees them or something and says, "Hey, this guy, let's give him a shot." They can still sign an undrafted free agent deal.
And if everyone's developing at the same time, everyone's finding success in their development, you'll get some wins out of it anyway, too, is what these coaches are looking at. But there's a lot of young, raw talent. And I mean, for a lot of these coaches, for I think, 8, 9 teams that we have in this league, if I'm not mistaken, like they know that this raw talent, if you can even get a handful of them to be ready for major league level or be ready for double A, triple A too, 6 teams, 6 teams, I think it's nothing but beneficial for not only these kids, but for these coaches as well, because it's also giving these coaches an opportunity to develop guys and get looks for them as well to get into major league systems as well.
Yeah, and one of the problems that the minor league system has right now, I mean, like I shouldn't say problem, but one of the realities is when you do get in the playoffs and you are fighting for a championship in the minor leagues, that is usually towards like the end of the season, last month of the season, the MLB, which is where teams start to pull guys up and say, we want to give these guys a chance. So you lose a lot of your minor league stars to, getting called up. And then you're sitting here like, well, how are we supposed to go win a championship?
Yeah, but it feels like you as a coach that's your goal, though, is you want as many of your players not on your team as you can, because you want them advancing to major leagues, advancing higher up into the systems.
Now, we are supposed to talk to Tyler Armstrong and Joe Roth today. It was going to be Tyler Armstrong, and he's like, hey, can I bring Joe Roth along? And we would never say no to talking to Joe. But I do notice they are having some connection issues trying to get on. I see them keep popping into the green room, popping out. So we'll try to see if they can fix their issues that they have with their connection and see if we can get them on today. But they are scheduled to be on the show today.
Yeah, battling through some glitch gremlins as we've had many a guest have to do with these shows before too. So hopefully we can get them on too and get to talk with a little bit of the baseball talent that we have in the high school realm that's going to be going into the next levels of baseball.
They're in Laredo, Texas, so no idea what the connection is like down there. That was we went 3 days. Now we have to scratch it off and go 0.
Damn. That team, the Astro Falcons, they go by a different name once they're what, the blue
Youngstown.
Yeah, Youngstown, but they wear blue now, I think too. It's more of like a blue scheme, I believe.
Right.
This team I was just seeing too. I think they were catching a ride with the team from Taiwan down to the Palomino World Series. So
right.
That was pretty cool to see as well. That team from all the way over in Taiwan too were riding with the boys from Youngstown.
We talked about it with the Little League World Series, but it's true here too. You see a lot of cultures come together for a cause in the Palomino World Series down in Laredo. A lot of like Taiwan, and a lot of teams that play different, that are from different cultures, come together for one common threat, which is baseball.
How beneficial is that for these kids to see talent level from different countries, different parts of the world, and just being able to compete against some of the best from there as well?
Well, I would argue, I mean, forget that it goes past baseball. I think it's super beneficial for kids at a younger age to get exposed to different cultures and to realize that, like, the way that the culture that you grew up in is not the only culture in the world, and there's not exactly one right way to do something.
And I mean, if you're going to suffer a defeat against a team that has a different culture, I think that's the best way to kind of take that medicine the hard way and realize that, all right, there are different ways to win this game, and my way may not always be the right way or even the best way necessarily.
If you play a team from Japan and you beat them and they're bowing to you, that'll teach you a lot about humbleness and respect for your opponent. You know, they'll bow to you when they beat you. They'll bow to you when they don't beat you. They're super, super high on the respect to not just the elders, but everyone. Like if you go into a Japanese restaurant and you ask to take the food back, that is a big insult to the chef. So that's a no-no in the culture. And here in America, if our steak's not cooked right or salt,
Yeah.
you know.
It's interesting how you bring that up too, but I think like you said, Ann, it is good to expose these kids to different cultures and just different styles of play, because you got to figure out different ways to win, because these teams, they don't have the same style too. Japan is traditionally too a very get on base, high on base percentage, get them on, get them over, get them in. And like teams like that, if you don't have a catcher that can gun them too, or if you're not keeping them on the base paths, if your pitcher's not holding them, they'll run away on you too. They'll take off on you. And I mean, we see all kinds of different teams like that too. But one thing, even we're seeing cultures being incorporated from other countries as well. How many more power hitters are we seeing in Japan now? Prevalent power hitters now in Japan.
Shohei Ohtani is like, hey, let's do it. Now he's the hero over there.
It's
he's
nice
the superstar.
to see some of these cultures, though, or some of these teams start blending and mixing in some other cultures into there. So you don't have to take Japan's culture, but there are quality parts to it that you can incorporate in your own to try to make your team, the outlook of your team, or the way your team plays better.
You can always learn from the way that people do things that weren't taught the way you were, or didn't grow up the way you did, even in America. Because America, one of the beautiful things about the country is there are whole different cultures. We're kind of we're a melting pot, right? We're a country made up of everyone from different spaces, because there's other than Native Americans, there's no indigenous America like other countries that just kind of built where they were. We all came from somewhere else. So there's a bunch of different cultures that you can learn from. So not just, you don't have to go to Japan to expose yourself to a different culture.
No, you don't. And I think the biggest thing with like exposing yourself to different cultures, just, I mean, if you keep an open mind, right? Like even if you don't necessarily agree with the way they do things, if you can at least understand why they do things the way they do things from a competitive standpoint, I think it gives you an advantage then going onto the field, leading your team as a coach or even as a player too, saying, okay, I might not like their style of play, right? But I understand why they do it. Because if you understand something, you could figure out how to beat it a lot easier.
Yeah, and I can see Tyler and Joe are still having connection issues. We're still trying to work on that, as we are scheduled to have Tyler Armstrong and Joe Roth both on the show today to talk about not just their Astro Falcons season, but also their futures and some of the things they're looking forward to as we inch closer to them stepping up to play baseball on the next level. Tyler's going to be going all the way to Georgia, not Georgia Tech, but East Georgia. So it's okay. Still a great state to play baseball in. Well, as long as you're not going to that one place with the power G that will not be named. As long as you don't go to that place, beautiful state to play in.
A couple of players, I should say, that are going to be playing baseball at the college level that we're definitely excited to be able to see what they are continued success and what they're able to do in that college level. You talk about Tyler Armstrong going down south to Georgia, and of course Joe Roth going about 40 minutes to the northeast part of the state up to Akron. So it'll be interesting. We'll see Joe a little bit closer, but we'll definitely, without a doubt, be keeping our eye on Tyler Armstrong and what he's able to do in his continued baseball career.
Yeah, and he's going to be a Bobcat at the East Georgia State College, and we look forward to seeing him succeed too.
Always exciting time when you get to go down south to play baseball. It's a different animal down there, and you want to talk about different cultures, different ways of doing things. Take about a 10 to 12 hour drive down south too, and you'll see a completely different way of doing things just because they play baseball longer. These guys sometimes are playing baseball 9, 12 months out of the year too. So different approaches, different ways they play the game, and just different ways to look at the game as well.
Yeah, just got a hold of Tyler. He said that the Wi-Fi in his hotel isn't the greatest, and we offered the suggestion to try to use data instead of the Wi-Fi and see if that works any better. So hopefully we can get them both on.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get them on too. Definitely going to be exciting times for them down at the Palomino World Series too in Laredo, Texas. We're hoping for nothing but good news from Youngstown.
I think while we continue to try to fix those little glitch problems, it's a good time to take a break on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens. On air, online, Wednesday afternoon weather update,
very dangerous,
and on the 21 News social media platforms. 21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Now you can see every school, to the smallest school, to the intermediate schools, to the schools in the outlying areas. It gives you coverage that you could just never get to before. It's something that's great to experience, and it's opened up a whole new wave of sports viewership. The possibilities are endless here at YSN. Push the envelope every day. Try something new. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, let's try another angle, and we just keep moving forward. My name is Mike Ackelson, and my sports network is your sports network.
And we are back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. I think we have fixed our technical issues with Tyler Armstrong. He is going to be popping in. And Tyler, thank you so much for joining us from the wonderful state of Texas and giving us some of your time.
Yeah, of course.
Tyler, let's talk about this just trip down to Texas, riding with the Taiwan team. Just the experience so far since you've been down there. How cool has it been for you, and how are you taking it all in right now?
Yeah, yesterday was interesting for sure. Long day traveling wise, and then when we got here, we were waiting for the Taiwanese team. We kind of thought Pletch was messing with us at first, and then that bus ride was cool. It was 3 hours. Towards in the middle of the way, we started trying to talk to them using Google Translate or whatever. And we got to meet a couple of them, friends on Instagram now with a few of them. It was a cool experience for sure. I'm excited for what the rest of the week's going to be like.
Did you learn any Thai?
No, they don't speak Thai. They speak Mandarin.
Mandarin. Okay.
We were trying to talk to them in Thai, like through Google Translator. And the one kid was like, I don't know what you're trying to say. We speak Mandarin.
Okay. That's something you learned. Did you learn the Mandarin?
No.
Okay. when you look at what we want to talk about first is this Astro Falcons summer and winning the Class B championship, coming off of that NABF World Series. You have to have pause on the Class B. You wait a couple weeks, come back right in the middle of that championship series with a 2-1 lead. What was that whole experience like? And losing game 3 and then having to take a pause and go and play in the NABF and then come back and try to win the championship series that Monday.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the toughest part about it, was just the break in between. I mean, whenever we were there and the game 3 came around and we already had the 2-0 lead, we were just trying to get it over with, like finish it. We didn't want to play, like keep playing those games and like risk losing. So we were like, I mean, taking the break from the NABF was cool because it got a chance for us to like play different teams and not be the same kids every time. But then we just wanted to beat Creekside and have it over with at that point.
You guys have played a lot of big games. Like Anthony said, you were involved in a deep run in the NABF tournament. You win Class B and you go right to Palomino. So a lot of big games. How are you decompressing while also trying to stay focused game to game and trying to just decompress mentally in between all these big games that you have?
I mean, each game is different in that like aspect. I'm trying not to like get too ahead of myself in certain games, and then other ones it's just kind of more relaxed. I mean, with Class B, I was able to more like be more relaxed. I kind of knew everyone on Creekside and who was going to be throwing, so I didn't really have to worry as much about figuring out the pitcher or what he was going to do. It was just kind of more like relax and go out there and play. I mean, after the NABF, where a couple of those games were kind of stressful.
All right, in your future, you're going to be playing in the state of Georgia for the East Georgia State College Bobcats. What kind of drew you to that decision? You don't see a whole ton of kids leave that far and go down south. What drew you to Georgia, and what drew you to that school, and what were some of the things that made that decision easy for you?
Well, I mean, when I knew I was going to start going, whenever I started looking towards junior colleges, I mean, the Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, that area, that league that's where you go if you want to play JUCO baseball. And I mean, I had a coach who knew somebody at East Georgia. I went on a visit there, and I mean, I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with the environment, the coaching staff. I mean, whenever I was like coming out to it, it was between them and another school in Georgia, and I mean, I was blown away by them, and I was like, I'm going to go to East Georgia. It's going to give me the best chance for my future.
Does your mindset approach when you have runners on base, because you were able to come up big in that Class B championship game 4 with a couple RBIs, do you have your mindset changed? Do you keep it the same? What's your mindset like when runners are on base compared to when they're not?
I got to do a job. If there's somebody in scoring position, I mean, if there's no outs and there's a runner on second, I got to get them to at least third, and a runner on second with 2 outs, I got to score them. It's just, you got to do a job. I got to put the ball in play.
Gotta tell you, when I went to your Instagram, I was pretty jealous. You're followed by Drew Compton, who is a Georgia Tech superstar, and I'm a big Georgia Tech fan. So that made me a little bit jealous. And now that you're going to play in the state of Georgia, that made me jealous too.
Yeah.
When you look at, but you're talking about some of your baseball role models and some of the players that you've met along the way that have really been an influence to your baseball career. Who are some of the players that you think you try to mold your game after?
Well, I mean, going back to Drew's my boy. Whenever I lived in New Jersey, he played with my older brother. My dad was one of his first coaches. So, I mean, I've known him since he was younger, and he's known me since I was a baby. But my role models are definitely like some of the past Pine Richland guys. Like Troy Leave's a big one I look up to, and Matt Wood and my brother, Josh Johnson, those 4. I mean, I was a freshman, they were seniors. I mean, they kind of taught me the right way to do things. It's just, I mean, there's all those I've been around some pretty good baseball players that are older than me that have just really kind of shaped my baseball career.
You strike out only an average of 1 time per 8 at-bats. And just give you a little bit of comparison, Jose Ramirez is a very low strikeout pitcher. It's about 9 at-bats for him. So for you, what does it come down to when you have 2 strikes on you? How do you walk in, protect the plate so well, and not give in to the pitcher and let him win that battle often?
Well, my approach at the plate is, I mean, my first two strikes are me. They're my strikes, right? Like, I can try and take my hacks, try and just drive balls. And then when I get down to 2 strikes, that's a team at bat. I mean, it's not productive if you're striking out every time. So, I mean, I kind of just try and widen up, shorten down my swing, and take the pitch where it's thrown to me. And I keep fouling off pitches, try not to chase anything, try and keep my eye level the same. Like if it's a curveball in the dirt, try not to chase it, but just try and flick balls away and just fight, and then just try and keep putting balls in play.
We get to see you in Class B baseball when you come over to Ohio, but you also have a great high school career on your hat stand. What were some of the biggest lessons you learned in high school baseball and the coaches that you were able to be coached by? And what were some of your favorite memories of being on that team?
I definitely got lucky with Coach Wolf. I mean, he's the Pirates coach. He's been there forever. I mean, I know a lot of kids. I've heard a lot of stories about kids who really don't like playing high school baseball. This coach is mean. They treat them bad. Practices aren't fun. This and that. I mean, Coach Wolf's been around it a long time. He knows what's up. I mean, I was really lucky to play for him because he kind of was like, he knew what was going on. He made it enjoyable. He knew we were there. Like, just everyone wanted to be there. But like the biggest lesson I definitely learned was how to become like a better leader and a better person. I mean, our team was super young this year. So, I mean, there was only 5 seniors. So knowing that I was going to have to step up and take control of the team and just kind of like show these, we had 6 freshmen, just like kind of take them under my wing, just kind of show everyone how it's supposed to be done. Like the leadership this year was really a big thing for me.
What do you look for particularly in a coach too? I mean, you said you've had different experience with different coaches, but like when you're on your college visits too, what are some qualities you look for in a coach, and what are some qualities you want in a coach?
I mean, just kind of someone who's going to make me feel like I'm at home, like where I'm like, I mean, obviously with East Georgia, I'm going to be 13 hours from my house. So, I mean, I don't want to go somewhere where the coach is cold and he doesn't talk to me and he's just kind of like a strictly business guy. I want somebody who's going to be like he cares to see if I'm okay, if I'm struggling, I'm missing my parents. Like he's going to be like, look, you're here. Like you got to be here. You can't focus on that. I mean, Coach Pletcher's a good job of that. Like, I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I haven't seen him and then it's been a joke or something before we started talking about baseball stuff. He's just, I mean, that's my favorite kind of coach to play for. Someone who's more like, I'm going to have fun. Like, I'm going to make sure you guys are having fun.
Okay, outside of baseball, what are some of the things that you like to do, hobbies that you have, and things that you could define yourself as outside of the sport?
Big time on video games for sure. And then obviously like going to the gym and hanging out with my friends. Those are like the 3 big things I do. When I'm not at the gym, I'm playing video games.
I got to do 2 follow-up questions. What's the favorite video game, and what's the worst workout routine? What do you hate?
Got to be MLB The Show. I'm a big MLB The Show guy. Any kind of it, like franchise mode, Diamond Dynasty, Road to the Show, I'll play all of it. I'll play it for hours. And then my worst workout's got to be, I'm trying to think. The guys at Battleground where I work out, he's got this. He has like a tough day once a week for me, and it's a lot of holds and like split squats and holding the split squats and planks, just a lot of like heavy weighted holds. Those get me tired. I'm hard to walk the next couple of days for sure after that.
Those are the ones you don't look forward to. What about the workout circuits that you love to do and you get fired up for?
Definitely like heavy lifting ones. Like if we're doing heavy squats or heavy bench or heavy deadlift, like those are definitely my favorite. I like to just pick up the big weights and put them down.
What do you believe gives you the competitive edge when you're playing video games, when you're on the actual field baseball wise? What gives you competitive edges?
I mean, I'm just super competitive naturally. I don't like to lose. So, I mean, that kind of like sparks me a little bit. Like if we're sitting there, something about losing doesn't sit right with me.
I mean, if there was an MLB The Show tournament between your teammates, are you pretty confident that you would come out on top of that? Like, are you the best show player on the Astro Falcons?
I don't know. Some of them spend a little bit more time playing video games, but I mean, I think I'd be good, but I don't think I'd be the best for sure.
What team's your favorite to play as?
I mean, it's got to be like the Yankees or the Nationals because I'm really good with Juan Soto. So, I mean, if Juan Soto does get traded to the Yankees, then the Yankees for sure.
That's easy. That's a sweep.
Worlds for me.
Let's talk about where your baseball kind of journey and career started, because it seems like you've always had this love for the sport. When did you first find yourself getting involved with the sport and really saying, I love what I'm doing here?
When I was little, I always played, and I was playing other sports. I was playing soccer, I was playing football, and then kind of like when I was 12-ish, it just kind of clicked, and I was like, I'm pretty good at this. I could keep doing this. I could play this, and that's when I kind of realized like this is what I want to do. I want to play baseball.
Obviously, you're not just continuing your athletic career, but you're also continuing your academic career. What are you planning on studying, and what kind of jobs do you kind of see yourself in the future?
I'm studying education, so I'm trying to be a high school history teacher when I'm done. So plan is to come back up to Pennsylvania and teach here, and then maybe coach a little bit, but definitely I'm going to be a high school history teacher. That's the plan.
And coaching always comes too from that. It seems like love of the game originally as a player. So many players that eventually become coaches. What is some really good advice that you've received in all the coaches you've been under? What's some really good advice that you hold near and dear to your heart?
Got to be like advice about like dealing with failing. Like if you strike out twice in a game, like you can't let the 2 strikeouts in the first 2 at bats carry into the 3rd at bat. Like everything, like you got to have a short mindset. Like that's kind of been my best advice, is just trying to forget about what happened 10 minutes ago and just like trying to be like, have nothing going on in the head.
All right, Tyler, before we let you go, I know you have a strong support system and people that are always there for you. I want to give you the time to give all those guys a shout out and the people that are always in your corner.
Yeah, I mean, definitely my parents. I mean, I know my dad's definitely watching this right now. There's no doubt in my mind. He's not here in Texas. It's kind of weird. It's probably one of the few times I've ever played a game and he wasn't there. So that's definitely weird. I'm sure he's going to be watching. I know he's going to be watching, but I appreciate, I mean, all the commitments he and my mom have made. Like, I mean, me playing travel baseball all over the country definitely wasn't easy for them when I was growing up. But, I mean, there was always at least one of them with me, which is, like, cool. They were able to take time off work and do whatever for, I mean, especially my little sister's a big-time cheerleader. My older brother was a big-time baseball player. Like, they never missed any of our events. So that's, like, cool. I mean, they always were really just dedicated to, like, seeing us. And then, like, obviously my siblings, I mean, they're big supporters of me, too. I mean, my brother, he always calls me after games, texts me before games. And then my sister, she's always good for the how'd it go when I get home. And then, I mean, obviously the coaches like Coach Pletcher, Coach Mack, Emil, and then my high school coaches and my travel coaches. They're definitely big supporters of me my whole life.
Well, Tyler, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day and busy week to come on and talk with us a little bit, preview these games. We wish you the best of luck and go get a big win. Go get the job done, man.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Tyler Armstrong from the Astro Falcons 18U team that is now going to, I guess this weekend, going to be the Youngstown Blue team. They'll put on some blue threads. And we have a comment from Woohoo. This is,
It's just
my shiny teeth in me.
You talk about that, or Tyler Armstrong talks about it, and I think he brought up a very interesting point too, because in the same sense, right, like we give flack to the officials, we give flack to players when they don't do wrong, and we certainly give flack to parents. But I feel like in certain instances, like what he brought up, that's where you need to really shine a light on those kind of parents, those type of parents where it's hard to kind of separate. He said one of them's with them on travel ball season, and it's kind of hard taking time off your job, taking time away from the family too, to go there and be able to support one of your kids too. There's a lot of sacrifices that goes into it too, and I think the parents too, for as much as we give them flack to some of the parents for raising their voice during games a little bit too much, I feel like there's certain instances like that where spotlight deserves to be shined on the parents that are willing to go that extra mile for their kids and are able to make those kind of sacrifices for their kids and are willing to do so.
You are absolutely right, Wulsu. Gotta keep smiling.
Gotta keep smiling.
Gotta keep that those pearly whites up. So yeah, like you're saying, I mean, when you see, it's easy to watch these guys in college baseball on TV, and they're in the World Series or whatever, and they're at the highest peak of their game, and you think, wow, it must have been so easy for them to. But you don't think about like the sacrifices that family made to get their kid to that level. I mean, the percentage of kids that get to that level of baseball are traveling across the country to play travel ball. Like, there's not a lot of guys that just stay local and end up going to a Power 5 school, right? It's not feasible. So when you're watching that kid, that softball, that baseball player that plays for Oklahoma or plays for Arkansas, odds are their family put in a lot of sacrifice, both financially and time-wise, to get them to a spot to achieve that goal. And that's a mad prop that not enough people talk about what the families go through just to get a kid to that point.
My favorite quote that just directly relates to that is Lionel Messi's quote, where he says, "It took me 17 years and 114 days to become an overnight success." And
right.
Like that just, it expands it, and it really shows how much work and how much the grind doesn't stop for these kids to, like you said, Ant, when they make it to that college level and then you see them just hitting the crap out of the ball or pitching lights out, and then you think, wow, it's like, or these kids just must have like came out of the womb just super talented. And it's like, no, there's natural talent that takes over at some cases, right? But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of refining your craft. And Coach Emil, too, former coach of the Cheney Cowboys, now down in North Carolina. I always like following him on socials too, because he was one of the best, I think, coaches as far as getting players to that next level and just taking them out, going on visits. You got to get out there, make connections. It's kind of a myth that like if you're good enough and you're talented enough, they're going to find you, because there's a lot of eyes looking a lot of different places. You need to make the name for yourself. You need to go out there, put in that work, go into those travel ball teams, meet people, get your name out there, and really just start selling yourself to these coaches and colleges.
Yeah, and like we said before, it's a lot of sacrifice from the families to travel to Texas, to travel to California, to travel to, if you're sitting watch, travel to Colorado, Georgia, California for the PTF Nationals. It's a lot. It's a lot financially. No one's paying for that. It's not like, hey, we'll just we'll cover your fees. No, I don't think so. And then forget that. A lot of these high intensity elite travel teams charge you a lot of money to be on that team. So you got to put that into your expense calendar too.
Yeah.
Update from Indiana. Boardman has fallen 13-0. So they end their summer in the regional semifinals. Unfortunately for Boardman, they fall just a bit short of a regional championship, but a great summer nonetheless. They won their first 2 games, gave us a lot of reasons to be excited in this area. We're proud of them. And even though they fall a little bit short of a Little League World Series, we know that they gave everything they had to this tournament, and we're so proud of them. And when they come back home, we'll let them know that.
We absolutely will, and I think, yeah, absolutely. Round of applause in order for Boardman on a fantastic season and giving us so many exciting moments and exciting clips to watch. But yeah, it was a great season, and like we said too, there's only one team that comes out of it too, and it doesn't mean it's a failure of a season for all the other teams that aren't that one team that walks away with a little bit of hardware. So, I mean, congratulations are in order. It's a heck of a team that you lost to, but you were a heck of a team yourself, getting yourselves to this point of the season. So congratulations, well in order for that Boardman team.
This is going to hurt, and lawsuits should hurt, because if they don't hurt, you don't care about them enough. But at the end of the day, when you get to reflect and you realize that you were one of the last 4 teams remaining in the congratulations from Woolsoo. I guess he's one. I don't know who it is, but Woolsoo on Twitch is responding. He's our main guy today. When you get to that level, there's no harm, no shame in dropping out. So, on that note, we congratulate Boardman on an incredible season, and we wish them the best of luck in their future endeavors. They will have a lot of their players go up to the next level next year for 13U. We saw Canfield have 13U get to regionals as well. They bowed out in regionals. So a lot of those kids, this is kind of their last chance to get to the Little League World Series. But they definitely have bright futures for more goals that they can set as they venture into higher class travel ball. And then not too long from now, high school softball.
We might eventually see a Sydney Watts versus Emma Davies circle matchup.
I don't know if it'll line up well. She's 12.
Is she going to be 13, 14? Is she going to be a freshman, though, is the question when she's 14? Or is she going to be a 15-year-old freshman is the question?
She might. I don't know what grade she's in.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, she's 12. She's going to – I didn't know, because if she's 14, if she's a 14 freshman, we might see that matchup. And I feel like if there's some dream matchups we want to see, I mean, Austintown Boardman, what else can you ask for? But Emma Davies, what a name she has made for herself over the course of just the last couple of months. I mean, you want to talk about becoming a household name. Maybe, and I mean, I'll venture to say this, maybe the youngest YSN player to create a household name for themselves, like Emma Davies has.
I think everyone that's been watching, and these games are nationally televised, so anyone's watching, they all know Emma Davies now as the Rocket, right? That nickname stuck, and these broadcasters ran with it. They loved calling her that. The social media's called her that. You know, all the posts were, oh man, the Rocket's living large. So now everyone kind of knows, like, that's the Rocket. And if that name starts to pop up in the in the future, if she starts doing stuff in the future, then they're gonna know, hey, that's the Rocket, man. And when she comes back on YSN, that's gonna be the headline. You know it.
We're excited for it. We're excited to continue the coverage of the Rocket. But like we said, all congratulations in order to Boardman on a successful season. And as Western Reserve coach, Coach Miller will often say too, after losses like that, the sun still shines tomorrow, right? So
yeah, absolutely, it does. They're gonna come back, and they're gonna feel that hurt for a little bit. But when you're, like I said, when you reflect on it, it was a great summer, and they did something that no Boardman Little League team had done since 1976.
And I mean, that's just to break that mold. And I mean, the excitement now is settling in for next year. Imagine that Boardman community, how excited they're going to be to get that team out next year.
Ty, next year's uber exciting because of the move up from 10U and what we saw of the 10U programs, Austintown, Poland, Boardman. They're all going to have players move up in the 12U. So next year's 12U, very interesting. There are going to be 3 teams in that district that all have legitimate chances to go to a regional.
That is certainly going to be exciting too. I mean, we just have great pitchers that are going to be in the AAC for softball. I mean, you got Mila Hamley that's right behind Emma Davies. That's going to be.
It was so apparent that Poland and Austintown were the 2 best teams in the state, and they're both in our district. They both have good chunks of their roster moving up to 12U next year.
And Poland is not shy to winning NE8s, not shy to winning state champions. They're only about 10 years removed from their last one, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Actually, it was 12, so they are. I think it was 12. Might have been 11.
That's why I couldn't remember if it was 12 or 11. It's right around 10.
You know, I think they won it Aaron's junior year, which would have been 11. They lost
11 years ago.
They won the state championship and lost in 12.
Poland's looking at their watch and they're like getting a little hungry for another state championship.
They got close. They got close back in 2000. Oh geez, all these years. I think it was 19.
But you know as well, you know more than I do. I should say.
They got to the state semifinals not too long ago.
That NE8 is always competitive. I always talk AAC as far as just competitiveness in softball, but that NE8 no slouch. South Range always going to be good. Hubbard always seems to have a solid team. But Poland, man, they're like that team though. They just keep rebuilding and reloading. Honestly,
it was 19. 19. They got to the state semifinals and lost. So they were close. That was Emily Denny's freshman year. That's how I did the math. I said, okay, she graduated and then boop, boop, boop. Okay,
just went down the line. But softball is going to be alive and well in this area, and there's certainly a lot of big names that are going to be infiltrating the high school realm here in just a few short years.
And Matt Hamley said it best yesterday in his interview. He said it is an exciting time for area softball fans because there are so many talented names just coming right up into the seams. And even there are still talented names right now that we're excited about that are actually in high school and continuing their high school career.
Look at the
right beneath them. It's like this blustering of talent. We are becoming a hotbed for softball.
Look at the baseball talent too. Canfield, Boardman having great seasons as well at the baseball realm. Like baseball, softball, and the AAC is going to be fine. It's going to be fine in the NE8. It's upticking everywhere we see it right now, and it's a great thing to see. I mean, you love to see baseball, softball talent continuing to grow, but you also love to see these players at younger ages than ever before continuing to be productive and more productive than we've seen from these players.
With Boardman losing, that is officially a wrap on our softball coverage as far as stories and recaps and interviews. So we do have to close the book on softball as far as YSN goes. I don't think there's any other teams that we're going to be following and covering and taking in and writing stories about. So I think that is officially the end of the softball coverage on YSN.
So what's your recap on softball?
Recap, Jesus.
No, you don't know recap, but I mean
recap 6 months of softball real quick. I
throw a bow on the 2022 softball season. Throw a bow on it for us, Dan. What did you see? You got to experience different levels, announcer, coach. I mean, you saw different levels of the sport.
Spectacular. I mean, I know this is one of the years where we didn't get someone in state and high school. But we had teams that were legitimate state contenders. And sometimes in the sport, especially when it's one and done, best team doesn't all like I shouldn't say that everyone's good when you get to so it's not like the best team didn't win, but sometimes state contenders don't get into the state tournament because everyone's good in the region. We have a really good region in softball. I think Ursuline proved that. I think Ursuline was a team that could have won state this year if things bounced their way. They didn't in the regional final. It sucks. It's just one of those things. I think Fitch had the talent, had the chances to go and compete for state. Things didn't bounce their way in the regional final. It sucks. And then we had a couple of other teams. They just couldn't either because they were in a really tough district, or they played teams like Ursuline or Fitch in district that they couldn't get out of the district. That were really good and really, really good and could have probably gotten to state if things bounced their way. So there was a lot of really good teams in our area.
And to tell you a little secret, folks, we're going to go right into next year and having some state contenders again, too, in multiple divisions. I mean, you want to talk about other teams. Brookfield has been right there with Matthews. Of course, like you look at the score, and I mean, yeah, it's a bad game, but Brookfield's still back-to-back successful seasons to get to that point. Brookfield's still alive and well in Division 4. You have to watch. You, of course, mentioned Ursuline and Fitch. South Range is always a good softball program. We know Poland's going to be getting really good here, too, or staying really good, I should say. Hubbard's always a contender. There's plenty of softball talent in the area that I feel like can make that kind of run next year, especially with some of the pieces that they might be getting that can immediately make an impact for them. Watch out.
Well, and South Range returns both their pitchers and their all-state catchers. So
I didn't even mention champion, and I mean, I don't know how I forget you got to champion too. They are literally named champion.
If Gardisher gets healthy, I know she hurt herself in basketball season, couldn't really be a part of the team this year. If she gets healthy, she is a elite softball player, and she'll go along with a Division I caliber catcher that's coming into her sophomore season in Warzala. So Champion's going to be right back to where everyone knows and loves Champion to be.
Having Warzala as just a sophomore is going to pay so much dividends for that Champion team over the next few years.
First time I got to see her live was the All-Star game, and she did not disappoint. Like, she plays on a premier team for a reason in the travel ball community. She's going to be a Division I catcher. I have no problem seeing that.
I mean, and that's you thank the coaching staff over there for Champion. They know everyone from the top down, from Coach Weaver down. Like you recognize all the coaching that is put into that spot.
What I love about Coach Weaver is he gave us a history lesson. And it was like, it wasn't even me. Like, this program was elite before I even got here. I just kind of kept it up.
Yeah. But props to you for keeping it up. You kept it up.
I mean, she was so humble and saying, like, hey, it was good back in the 80s. I got here in the mid-90s. It was already a strong, stable program that won a couple of state championships. So I just kind of kept the standard where it was.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You joined on when it was just a yacht and you built it to a cruise liner, it seemed like. So, I mean, you made something good great. So congrats to Cheryl Weaver. I think props are going to you, Anna. If I'm sending props to anyone, I'm sending props to you.
Props to me. I don't know. Props to me.
I think props to you for having experience from all over the spot, softball realm wise. But yeah, it's definitely an exciting season. We kind of say goodbye to our softball coverage. I know single tier for Anthony rolls down his eye, but like we've been talking about too, and we've already been previewing football. We got fall sports that is literally going to be here before we know it. And DJ was talking about it on Power Hour too. I want to talk about like the quickest 20 weeks of the year. Like football season starts it because you go practices, then you go postseason. Like it goes so fast.
For you softball junkies, fall ball is right there.
You also have certain high schools that you said and play during the fall too, like down south.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Georgia and Colorado are both fall sports softball states. So I'll be watching that too because there are a couple of players I'm keeping my eye on, especially in the state of Georgia because I'm a big Tech fan. So I keep my eye on a lot of players that play in Georgia for future recruits that might pop up onto my favorite team. So you never know.
You never know.
But there's also travel. Some travel teams play fall ball. The rule goes like once you hit August 1st, any travel team that wants to play in August or September or whatever can't have more than 4 girls from the same high school on the team. So like for the Storm, that's why we don't play in August because we have more than 4 Boardman girls. So we kind of shut down after July 15th, I think was our last weekend. But there are going to be travel teams that are playing in the fall, and there are going to be players that keep on rolling. And there's some of those players we mentioned. Sydney Watts will not be stopping in the summer. She's going to be, she's a one sport athlete. She doesn't play volleyball. I don't believe she does cross country or soccer. It's all about softball, and she'll be doing stuff in the fall. Winter's all about individual drill work in the state of Ohio because we can't play outside. So indoor stuff, tee work, fine tuning, and then we get back in the spring.
We're excited for it, but we have plenty of sports to tide you over until then. And YSN is not going to be done with their coverage of local sports. And hey, don't forget, if you want to join this kind of YSN team, we're still taking plenty of people too. We're always looking to add to our team and continuing to grow our team. So make sure too, if you want to be a part of the sports, whether that's calling the sports, writing the stories, being behind the scenes, whatever role that you feel best befits you, we definitely have spots open for it here at ysnlive.com. And we're gearing up for the 2022 fall season, and we need all hands on deck. So if you want to be a part of the ship, you better jump on board while you still can.
The YSN Academy is actually 2 weekends away. 12th and 13th are going to be the dates for new announcers to come in and learn what we're all about, how we do what we do, how the equipment works, what our goals are, what our expectations are, and all that fun stuff that you and I both went through back when we started. We both went to a YSN Academy, and it's where you kind of you learn the ropes. And so if you want to join our team, not saying that you can't get interested after that, we can definitely bring you on after that, but that would be a perfect a date to say if I'm going to make a decision, it's by then, because there's no better way to get comfortable with everything that we do than to come to one of those academy meetings on the 12th and 13th.
Absolutely. We have it open for people who want to join too. If you love sports, this might be the job for you.
If you are interested, make sure to email info@ysnlive.com or reach out to us on any of our social media pages, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitter or Instagram, or heck, even, hey, Mr. Woolsoo is good at commenting on Twitch. So if you want to leave us a comment on Twitch, go ahead. You want to leave a comment on our YouTube page? Sure, we'll get to you. But whatever you want to do to get out, make sure you reach out to us, and we'll get you squared away and get you a spot in that YSN Academy coming up on the 12th and the 13th. They're both the same thing, so you don't have to go to both. It's just go to one or the other.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting too. 12th and 13th. That's I think Friday, Saturday. So make sure you take advantage of it while you can.
I think Friday we're getting new professionally done headshots for the website.
I got that done from Quinn too. Yeah, he told me I'm going to need to come in dressed in YSN gear, which I feel like that's like 80% of my wardrobe. I think I'm repping it right now too.
Are you wearing something YSN?
I'm wearing the basketball All-Star Game shirt
Awesome.
too. I had to. I might also wear this tomorrow when I'm at SummerSlam, because I like repping it. I like it because it has the big YSN that sits right on the back too. So I could you wear it, you rep it too, let everyone know from out of state.
One of the traditions I've made since I've started working on YSN, if I go on vacation or if I go somewhere, I bring the YSN hat and I take a picture of the YSN hat in the spot that I'm at. That's like YSN takes over Georgia Tech. Or YSN.
Take over SummerSlam. Get on the cameras. We're gonna have YSN.
I almost had a mistake or a oopsie, because I tried to do it in the fountains at Kansas City.
Anthony falls in the fountain at Kansas City.
I'm trying to get it to where like the hat hangs on the rail, but you still see the YSN. And Ty, I came like this close to dropping that thing in the water.
The hat. You lost that.
I had to go and catch it like through the railings. My hand went through the railings and caught the brim, and then I had to like reach my other hand over because I couldn't pull it through. So I reached my other hand over and pulled it up this way, and then got my hand out of the. It was close.
Almost donated a YSN hat to Kauffman Stadium.
It's floating in the fountain.
You might have made a national broadcast with that.
Would it have been worth it if it got on TV?
I think it would have been worth it, but would it have been worth it for you because you may never be allowed in that stadium?
Yeah, you know what? I'm sure people drop stuff in that fountain all the time. Drop the phone or drop a hat or whatever, as long as you don't jump in it. I think jumping in it is what will get you banned from the stadium. You're not allowed to go into the fountains.
You can't go swimming, Ant.
I'm surprised. I've never seen anyone fall over into the fountains trying to get a ball.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't.
No.
You're gonna get it on a highlight clip now. You watch.
For a long time, you couldn't do that because there were no outfield seats in Kauffman Stadium. It was renovated in like 2010 because they had the All-Star game in 2012 and they wanted it to look a little bit better and have more seating and everything like that. So they geared up for that All-Star game. But before that, there were no really seats in the outfield. The seats went to the foul territory and went like into the corner, and that's it. The outfield was like pretty much just a for view. You know, it was for looks. It was fountains. It was grass. Big scoreboard. Now you can fall into the fountains.
Now the fountains are open to fall into.
Right.
Oh man, but I'll tell you what, we're going to be falling into football season here really soon. We're going to be falling into fall sports seasons here really soon. We got a couple of football coaches on yesterday, and if you missed the John Bayek from Struthers or Joe Simon interview from Liberty, those are both up right now on not only our website but also on our YouTube page. And if you would have followed or subscribed, I should say, there's follow, there's subscribe, there's all kinds of different terminologies, but if you would have subscribed, hit that notification bell, you wouldn't have missed either of those interviews. And as those football interviews keep coming in, and volleyball and cross country and golf, all those interviews keep coming in, you're going to want to stay tuned to make sure you keep up with it.
I think on that YouTube page, Sean Guerrero should be coming up pretty soon. I know he was on the Power Hour yesterday. So interview with Sean Guerrero, if you missed that, should be on YSN's YouTube page pretty soon as well.
I think the most impressive thing too with these football coaches is just how into it they seem like this year, right? Because a lot of them are newer coaches that we've talked to, right? And like 2020 is often considered year zero amongst a lot of them. Like year zero, year one, there's a lot more excitement, it feels like, in these coaches now, because now they have at least a little bit of a foundational brick of what they want their culture to be. A lot of these newer coaches too, now they can start building the walls up for it, or securing the foundation a little bit more. And now we're going to start seeing these teams' identities, I think, a lot more because of the culture that's in place, and because a lot of these kids have had more than one season now under their head coach.
Well, that's what I mean. It's Joe Simon's second year, so that's what was really fun about talking to him. Like last year was all about trying to. The tagline was "Return the Roar," right? So to bring the excitement back to Liberty about their football program. He brought a lot of alumni and did a lot of things for the alumni to try to get them more excited about their program, and he did a great job of that. Now he has a lot of alumni support because of it. This year, it's ring the bell. That's what their tagline is. He says he wants them to not just worry about bringing back the excitement, but now finishing when they get there. Because a lot of games last year, Ty, Liberty was like a sniff away from winning against really good teams.
Back weeks were one-score losses,
and they were. I think they were both games where they had plays to be made down the stretch that would have won them the game. I think a fumble lost one of the games, and then maybe a drive that stalled out, or I can't remember the exact details. Excuse me, but I know for sure there were both instances where there were plays to be made at the end of the game that could have won Liberty those games and really would have put them in the playoffs. They were one win away from locking up a playoff spot. And there were two tough teams, of course, with LeBray and Garfield closing out the season. But yeah, they needed those wins. They were right there. So this year, he's focusing on trying to get them to finish, trying to get them to make those, clutch game-winning type plays down the stretch.
And I mean, I've liked Joe Simon since we were able to interview him last year, but you've always kind of been high on this Liberty Leopards team too, and you were excited about him last year. I think this year serves a lot of excitement just because of the way they ended last year. A 41-34 loss to LeBray, who was number one seed in Division 6 a year ago going into that playoff. And then Garfield, they lost 43-36, again by a touchdown, who was, I think, fourth in Division 5 last year, ranked fourth in Division 5. So in the region, obviously. This is a good football team, too, who's going to be returning a decent amount, too. You got to talk with them. Offensive line is where it's going to come down to. They have a lot of big guys, too, a lot of athleticism. I think they're going to go as far as their O-line takes them.
Ty, and minus those two games against LeBray and Garfield where they did give up a lot of points, granted, those are really, really good teams, playoff caliber, not just playoff caliber, but also playoff relevant teams. Outside of that, their defense played pretty good all year.
They absolutely did. And I mean, that's exciting to see with this Liberty team, is that they have that defensive prowess to go up and shut a team down. And now that you have the experience against the high flying offenses, doing it two different ways. LeBray last year did it so much with the pass. Garfield, a lot more ground and pound, but you got to see two explosive types of offenses and you were competing with them. Now it's just going in and saying, all right, maybe we were out of position here. Again, it's similar to what we heard from like the Camel Memorial Coach King's interview. I feel like is that the athleticism at Liberty is not the issue. It's not an issue in athleticism. It's X's and O's, just making sure guys know where they need to be lined up. Once you start fixing that, I think you could start turning the tide for this Liberty. For sure.
That's a lot more fixable than getting a group of guys that know the X's and O's, but just don't have the athleticism to go and execute it.
Absolutely. And like I said, those were two very good teams, Division 6 number 1 seed and Division 4 number 4 or Division 5 number 4 seed. But that Garfield team was also a team that I think had at least the best score against Kirtland in that playoff run. I think it was 25-7 in that game, but they still, I think, had the best game defensively against Kirtland throughout that whole tournament. So that was a good defense that Liberty scored against.
Liberty scored 36 points on them, and once again had the chance to win the game at the end. When you look at it, I think Liberty has one of the players that is not talked about nearly enough on their offense, Chris Cunningham. He is a under the radar dude, doesn't get talked about a lot in the grand scheme of local media, but Chris Cunningham is legit, and he's gonna shine this year.
I'm excited for guys like that. I'm excited for Liberty as a whole, just because they've experienced so much success now in all kinds of sports from both sides too. Boys and girls basketball both having successful seasons. Of course, boys football, I'd take a 5-5 season considering the way you were competing last two games. It could have been 7-3 just as easy. Do you take it as a successful season? You take it as a building season, I think. But I think that building season built on what we saw in the basketball season and what we are going to see now in this next football season as well.
It was the second season, not only Joe Simon's second season, but the second season where they've had an established youth program as well. He was talking about how they didn't have it, or they didn't have a really good established one when he got there, and he's made sure to get them into a league. They're playing youth football games now in Liberty. So not only are they looking good now, but he's making sure that their future and their foundation is kind of set in stone. So hopefully, things go well and Joe Simon can be there for a while, and that future that he's setting up right now can join him in the future on this program.
Chris Cunningham too, you mentioned him. Dude had over 1,000 yards receiving last year and 14 receiving touchdowns as well.
Like, he was just putting on a show night in and night out, and because Liberty was 5-5 and they were kind of one of those midline teams, he just kind of went silently under the radar. Not a lot of hype about his stats, but I think he's one of the best receivers in the area, period.
And I'll tell you, defensively too, Tawan Tutwiler too, 27 tackles, 3 interceptions last year for him as well. And he's going to be a part of a really good, I think, secondary for that Liberty.
Yeah. Joe Simon previewed a little bit. He said last year, Chris Cunningham, they let him focus on his offense, but he's a good defender. And this year he plans on using Chris Cunningham on the other side of the ball too. So that's going to add to their secondary, I'm sure.
I guarantee it as well. I think it's going to be fun to watch. This is a Liberty team that's really funny too. 5-5 last year, but how about this? Their last 5 years, a combined 24-24. They are 500 in the last 5 years. They want to break over that. Liberty wants a winning season, and this is, I think, the perfect time to do it. Showcase what you got. You lost a little bit, right? But you're going to bring back some really talented pieces. Let's see what you got, Liberty.
They open the season against a Western Reserve on the road. They'll be on the road more than they're at home this year. They have 6 road games, 4 home games, because last year they had 6 home games and 4 road games. So they'd flipped that, and now they balance it out. Just 4 home games this season for the Leopards. Coach Joe Simon, he was a little bit sarcastic about that. Obviously that schedule was put in place before he got there. He had no say in it, but wasn't exactly happy that he had only 4 home games.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you only have 4 home games, because I mean that team lives and breathes that home crowd. Those 2 games at the end of the season, you run it right back. LeBray at Garfield, October 14th, October 21st. Those might be the games that kind of define where you're going to be at in the season-wise, right?
Those are both on the road this year too.
They're both on the road too, and of course, you still have to face Crestview. That's September 16th.
That's on the road too.
Yeah, so the 3 times on the road.
Their home games this year are Lakeview, Camel, Newton Falls, and Brookfield. Not in that order. I think it's that's definitely not the order.
Yeah,
I think it's actually
you're right though.
I think the order is Lakeview, and then they'll play Brookfield, then Camel, and then Newton Falls in that succession of their home games. If I'm
Their
not
last
mistaken.
home game's October 7th.
Right.
So they don't play a home game after October 7th. So they got 2 weeks on the road to follow. So you gotta catch Liberty while you can. But their first home game doesn't happen until September 2nd. So it's really like that month of September, you're going to get Liberty home football games. You better get out there and support those Leopards, folks.
Yeah, they have 2 in a row, and then they have a little break, and then they come back and they have, I think, 2 in a row again.
Yeah, they have the only one. They have 2 in a row with Lakeview, Brookfield. They go to Crestview, and then they have Champion splitting up Camel and Newton Falls.
Okay.
So pretty much that whole month of September and that first week of October is where Liberty's going to be playing home.
Well, that means I would say 3 out of the 4 top-tier teams at MVAC grade tier are going to be on the road with Crestview, LeBray, and Garfield. You do get Brookfield at home, but 3 out of those 4, which we all think top tier, that MVAC grade tier, are all on the road.
I think that September 30th game at Champions is really going to be an interesting one, too, because I think Champions going to be interesting with Joey Fell returning as well. I think it might determine one of those teams making the playoffs, too. It could be a playoff determiner.
That's going to be a must-win for both teams because they both have established that they want to be talked about in the league, and you got to beat the teams that should be below you. So if either of those teams are going to get into that high tier, the other one's going to be below them, so they have to win that game.
LeBray's lost some pieces. Of course, Garfield's lost some pieces, but right now, I think it's kind of open. Obviously, you're looking Garfield, Crestview, just because these are teams that have been there, done that before. They have good cultures in place. But I still think it's a wide open door for those teams, such as your Liberty, such as your Champions, such as your Brookfields in that gray side to sneak in and take a crown.
Like I said, in respect, I am going to start the season with thinking that Garfield's the favorite in that conference. But there are definitely teams that can change that.
I would say, yeah, I would agree with you that Garfield's there. I think Crestview's right there as well, just because of what Coach Cusick and just what that whole Crestview program has been able to do. They're like so many coaches in the conference have said, even when Crestview's down, they're not actually down. So
what coach called them just a freak school of athletes? Was that Mike Bailey last year when talking about soccer?
It might have been, yeah.
Nothing but athletes at Crestview. It's insane.
They definitely know how to breed them over there. But we've had some great coaches on, and we've gotten a chance to really dive into this gray side of the MVAC a little bit too, talking with a handful of coaches. We're looking forward to continued coverage too. We represent a decent amount of conferences in the area, so we're looking to dive a little bit into them.
Their boys soccer team is 1 year removed from a state runner-up, so they'll try to bounce off that too as we continue to talk about fall sports on Running Point. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, maybe we'll dive into some other sports schedules that have been popping up. We have some volleyball schedules that have been thrown our way, and we'll try to look into some of these matchups that might be coming up in the near future with our volleyball and soccer and other fall sports teams. Don't miss that and more on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Reliability, innovation, scale. These 3 values are those we look forward to in our business and in our team. If you're ready for a reliable employer who looks constantly to think outside the box in big ways, we're ready for you. Apply now. Help us push the envelope and deliver success. Envelope 1. Take that one extra step.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, Over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting, where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring PGA professionals, golf instruction, a players rewards club, kids programs, and a pro shop and grill room for a memorable golf experience. Call or click to schedule your tee time at Mill Creek Golf Course.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Now is the time to think about your future, where you want to go, what you want to be. Your future can start now at Kent State Salem or Kent State East Liverpool. We have programs that will open doors and provide opportunities for you to pursue your passion. We are affordable. We are close. You call it hometown. We call it Kent State University. Learn more at www.kent.edu/Columbiana. You belong here.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Harbig alongside Ty Bartell. And Ty, we have some new football previews on our site with Liberty and Struthers going up last night, and our partners over at WFMJ continue their Muscle Connection high school football previews tonight. The 6 o'clock news will feature Western Reserve, and the 11 o'clock news will feature Lowville. So if you're interested in previewing either one of those teams, our partners over at 21 WFMJ have you covered.
And Lowville is going to be one of those fun, exciting teams as well, with Vinny Balone at the helm and so many great wide receivers too. Banofsky's going to be back. I mean, there's a lot of great weapons there, so that's something you're not going to want to miss on the Muscle Connection by WFMJ.
I think Western Reserve and Lowville are both going to be interesting teams, and they're going to be duking it out in that MVAC Scarlet tier. So, actually, we'll just give you the preview for the weekend, too, since we won't be back until Monday. So Western Reserve and Lowville are tonight. Tomorrow night, it will be Latonia and East Palestine at 6 and 11 o'clock, respectively. And then Sunday night for WFMJ's Muscle Connection High School football preview. At 6 o'clock, it'll be Poland, and at 11 o'clock, it'll be Camel Memorial.
We get to get another view of Camel Memorial from the other side from Coach King. So you can watch our interview with Coach King before you get the Muscle Connections with WFMJ and get pretty much the full grand scope and grand picture on the upcoming Camel Memorial football season.
Ty, as I said before the break, we have some other schedules coming into us from other sports and other teams, and I want to kind of look at some of them. And we have some volleyball schedules that look very interesting. Let's start with Boardman's volleyball schedule as I bring it up. Hold on. Maybe I didn't send it. Oh, there it is. Boardman volleyball. They will open the season on Saturday, August 20th, 11:30 a.m. against North Canton Hoover in Boardman. So they are home to open the season, and then our next game will be Tuesday against Ursuline. That Tuesday, the 23rd against Ursuline, 25th against Oak Glen, and then the 29th against Southeast. So they have five, because it's going to be a tri match. So they have 5 games at home to open the season in Boardman.
You'll love to see it. Boardman's going to be fun to watch too, volleyball-wise, to see how much they've improved over the course of the offseason. Always competitive they are game to game. I'm excited to see what they're able to do this season. They got a heck of an opponent to lead things off. North Canton Hoover always has really good athletics.
Get this, their first game on the road tie at Canfield.
They're trying. I mean, this is what all these AAC teams are realizing what they need to do. Whether it was what Canfield started doing in the baseball season this year, or even before that, what we saw Fitch starting to do in the volleyball season a little bit and last year as well. These AAC teams are bolstering their schedules because they're realizing in the market that they play, a lot of them are either really big D2 or really small D1s. Either way, you have a lot of tough competition in this region too, that you're going to have to go up against some really good teams in the regular season to get yourself prepared for the regional tournaments.
In fact, after those 5 straight home games, Boardman volleyball will have 5 straight road games. It'll be Canfield, Harding, Austintown, Poland, and Howland all on the road. They'll return home against South Range on September 19th before hitting back on the road to Girard. So Girard playing 2 AAC teams, both at home.
Girard is not messing around this year. And
No, they are not.
They need to play these teams, though. And I mean, like, one of the biggest ones, too, and you made sure you called it, too. Austintown going to Girard is going to be a phenomenal matchup as well. But, I mean, you take that away from what Girard's doing, and Girard's also got that same goal. They're playing teams, though, outside of their division because it's like we want to get prepared, but we don't want anybody to see what we have in store for this season. So trying to keep themselves in the dark as much as they can to the teams in their division so they can make that run. That's what you're looking forward to doing. And that same thing with Crestview. We're seeing Crestview doing much of the similar things too with their schedule this year.
Some of the other teams that will pop up on Boardman's schedule non-conference, of course, they have 2 against Harding, 2 against Fitch, 2 against Canfield, 2 against Howland, of course. But they also play at Cardinal Mooney. They'll play at Salem. They'll play West Branch at home, and then they'll play Hubbard at home, and they'll play at Crestview to close out the season on Saturday, October 15th.
That's where you see kind of it can be a benefit having a small conference.
This is new because, like, I think what Crestview did last year has gotten some of these bigger schools' attention. They're saying, okay, maybe we can afford it, because I think they just say, like, oh, this is a small team. We don't have anything to gain from playing Crestview. I know they want to boost their resume, but we don't want to take away one of our Division I games. But now they're like, okay, and Crestview volleyball is really starting to muster a lot of attention, not just for what they did last year, but for what some of their players are doing in club volleyball. I think they're kind of okay with saying, because remember, it's voted on, the seeds are voted on. So I think because of the attention that Crestview volleyball is getting, a lot of these Division I coaches are saying it's not a knock to play Crestview anymore in Division I. So we'll get them on our schedule.
And it's smart for both sides. For the Division I side, because you get a tough competitive volleyball game without having to play someone in your division. And it works out for Crestview because you play a tough competitive volleyball game without playing someone in your division. And you're also playing up divisions. So that helps you in your seeding in the tournament.
It was always smart for Crestview because Crestview always wants to expose themselves to teams that play quicker, have more girls on their bench, are able to have better rotations, things like that. But now it's actually starting to get smart for the Division I schools too, because of the respect that Crestview has started to get in the not just our area. It's easy to have respect in our area, but remember the district votes, the super district votes on seating. So I think the fact that these Division I teams are starting to say it's okay to play Crestview means that these Division I coaches in our district are starting to put some respect on Crestview's name.
It's about time too, because I think the volleyball around this area is starting to get really good, or we're going to have at least a good, I think, pocket of years where we're going to have some really high quality volleyball throughout all these divisions too. And for teams like what we've seen, what Crestview's doing, I mean, there's great games on there, top down. I mean, playing McDonald even away is a great game, I think, for Crestview to compete with a team such as McDonald. And I think McDonald's another one of those teams you're going to have to watch out for.
This is a great schedule for Boardman. And once again, they kick off on Saturday, August 20th, as they will be home against, well, they'll have a try match. They have the second opponent is TBA. They're trying to get, I think they're trying to get a third team in there.
Right now, the try match I'm seeing, if you're looking at the same thing, I could be wrong and it could be changed. But if you're looking at, it looks like Saturday, October 15th, they might be having a matchup. Crestview and Boardman might be trying to fit in a match.
I think to open the season, they have Ken Hoover, but then that also says that there's a TBA opponent on.
Oh, so it's another one they're waiting. Okay, that's the one you're looking
So
at.
I think they're waiting on an opponent to try to complete that try match at home to start on Saturday. Worst comes to worst, they just play North Canton Hoover in a straight up match.
And
best of 5.
that works out too. That works out.
Let's stay in the AAC tie, and we'll stay in volleyball as we look at Canfield's volleyball schedule. And they open up against Coventry, which they've been doing. Actually, that's a scrimmage. Sorry, they scrimmage in Coventry on August 11th. They'll open up on Saturday at home versus Girard. Saturday, August 20th at home versus Girard. Oh, that's fun.
Where are you gonna go? Is my question. You have so many games that you can go to. I think just these opening games too. This opening week for football and volleyball. Like, it starts on Thursday the 18th, folks, with some high-quality matches. Canfield West Branch opens up on Thursday the 18th. We take that right into the Friday slate of games. And then Saturday morning, the fun doesn't stop because there's so many matchups like this in the volleyball world. Volleyball kicks off on Saturday now.
Last year, Canfield and Girard closed out the season at Girard, and it was a thriller. It was a 5-set match. It went nuts. Canfield started to run out of gas a little bit, but then they started to pick it up more. Well, it was a great volleyball match. Now they're opening the season against each other on Saturday. That will be a straight match. It will be best of 5. Canfield will have a try match against Archbishop Hoban and a team to be announced on Tuesday at 5:30. They'll have the varsity try match on Tuesday at home. Then they hit the road against Howland. They hit the road against Western Reserve. They will be home against Boardman, at Middle Ridge, at Youngstown East. They will be home against McDonald. They will be home against Harding, home against Fitch, home against Mooney. Then they will be home against Hathaway Brown, home against Lakeview. That'll be a good one.
That'll be a really good one.
They'll be at Ursuline versus home against Cheney, home against Talmadge. And Talmadge is a very good Division III school. That is a very good volleyball program. Last year, they played home against Tri-Valley, which is a Division III powerhouse as well. This year, they're going to play home against Talmadge. They'll be at Poland as they have the Battle of 224. That's a given. Back at Fitch, they'll be home against Woodridge, at Warren Harding versus Howland at home, and then at Boardman to close out the season. They have a game that is TBA on Thursday, October 13th. I think they're trying to find an opponent close out the season on that Thursday.
We'll obviously stay tuned and see if they add anyone in that, but that's another great schedule for Canfield.
Look at Canfield's schedule. They're giving even more opportunities to some smaller schools. They have McDonald on this schedule. They have Western Reserve on this schedule. So giving a little bit of an opportunity to some even Division IV schools to cut their teeth against
figure, because if I'm not mistaken, and volleyball in Canfield was one of those sports that moved down a division. So now
they did all their girls sports move down to D2.
They have a little bit more room to play with, right? So like if you lose to like a McDonald team, it doesn't hold as much weight as when you were Division I now, right? I mean, coaches from outside in that super district aren't going to look at that as much as if it was a Division I team losing to Division IV.
Ty Canfield goes from one of the smallest girls team in Division I to probably either the biggest or one of the biggest Division II teams in the district. So they were the smallest Division I team in the state, period. So now they'll be one of the bigger Division II schools, which means they're going to get good votes, right?
They're going to be able to also compete, I think, with a lot of these Division II teams and surprise a lot of these Division II teams.
They're going to have to find a mainstay as their attacker because they have no more Abbey Household.
Glancing over, is there any significant Division II teams that are non-conference that you see Canfield has scheduled? Because
Lakeview.
I can't think of I don't remember all the divisions offhand, but
Lakeview and then
is Girard 2 or 3?
Girard's 2 with Lakeview. So they have Girard and Lakeview, both Division 2. Mooney's D3, Ursuline's D3,
Yeah.
Cheney's D3. Poland's Division 2, so they'll be pulling Poland. I don't know what Division Woodridge is. I think they're a smaller school, though.
I'm just curious.
And the rest of the AAC is staying in Division 1, I think. Or did Howland move down too?
Howland, that's a good question. I feel like,
Howland moved down too. I think Howland's Division 2.
I think Howland's D2 in girls, and I think they moved up in boys because their boys team is now basketball, at least is D1, I think.
I think Howland and Canfield moved down, but Fitch and Boardman in the AAC and Harding all stayed in Division 1.
I think the biggest thing for Canfield is that they're just trying their opposite approach is not that they don't want teams to see them. They're going right at some of the best D2 teams, at least locally, right? Because, I mean, these are the teams that you're going to run into probably regardless if you're in the region. Before you start getting to the teams out of you're probably going to run into Lakeview, Girard, Poland, one of those teams eventually, sometime in this tournament.
When you talk about D2 volleyball, you are going to run into a district that is a gauntlet because there is Notre Dame Cathedral Latin in this district, and there is Gilmore Academy in this district.
And
in this region, in this district. That's why Girard did not get out of a district last year, because they ran into Gilmore Academy in the championship. And Gilmore Academy is a legit volleyball team.
But it's fair to say you survive this district, you have a solid chance at going to state too. It's
the same thing we were talking about when Crestview played Independence in Barberton. Like, you beat Independence, doors swing wide open. If you get out of this district in D2, you beat Gilmore Academy or in Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, it's wide open.
Doors are open a bit for you to make that run. And for these teams, I mean, if you're telling me you throw a district championship on the line and you're telling me Canfield, Girard, Lakeview, Canfield, Lakeview, Poland, like, I'm signing up for that all day. Like, those four teams and any kind of number of matchups you try to spin them in, that's going to be a great district championship, one that I could see going 5 sets, honestly, between any of those teams.
Canfield has wanted to be out of Division 1 for a while. They felt like they were kind of not unfair, but they just didn't like the fact they were the smallest Division 1 team. Now they have a chance to kind of prove that was a valid conversation point, because now they're one of the biggest teams in Division 2, so they have to go and make some noise in Division 2 if that conversation carries any weight.
Don't forget, folks, too, it's going to be the first year for the YSN Volleyball All-Star Game, too. Yes. So extra reason to be tuning into these games that following day, Saturday morning. Most of you, I know you don't got anything going on. We don't got football going on Saturday morning. So you could take that Friday night lights and you could turn it into a Saturday morning wake-up, too, with some of the best volleyball teams going at it that first day.
Ty, we've already went over Fitch's volleyball schedule in a previous show. So we've went over their schedule, and their schedule can also be found on the website on the story about their new floor. So
they open up this story too. So that's the big game. We have another big Saturday game.
To close out the AAC, let's go over Howland's schedule real quick, or I should say AAC teams that we cover. Let's close out with Howland. They open the season on Monday, August 22nd at Salem. That'll be a good season opener for the Quakers as they welcome in Howland. Then they're on the road again against Cheney. They have their home opener Thursday the 25th against Canfield. They will go to Struthers after that, to Hubbard, then home against Harding, to Fitch, to Mooney. They will travel to Claymont, which is a pretty decent travel, and it's going to be Claymont and 6 others. So they're playing in a tournament on Saturday, September 10th, because it says Claymont and 6 other high schools down there for that event. Thursday, September 15th, they come back. They will host Boardman. Then they'll go to Berkshire and 4 other teams on the next Saturday, September 17th, before traveling to Warren Harding, back home against East, away at Boardman, home against Ursuline, away at Canfield, and they close out the season Tuesday, October 11th at Austintown Fitch. Versus Austintown Fitch at home.
It's a nice little season that they've put together too. I mean, obviously the conference games are always going to help you out, but I mean, just some of these games opening up, I think with Salem, and I also really like playing that big tournament as well. And these are the teams, or these are the games you really need to, I feel like, expose these girls to, because those are the games where you get tired, you get exhausted, but you just got to find a way to sweat it out, grind it out, and get a win in a set. Get to that 25 threshold, 15 threshold, depending on the set you're in. These are games that are perfect like that. Similar to when basketball coaches put their players through excruciating drill and make them take free throws after. You need to be able to calm yourself in those moments too. When you lose a game in a tournament, can you reset yourself, go right back on the court, and try to win? Because now there's another win on the line in this tournament game.
They play in two of these big events because they're going to go to Claymont with the 6 other teams. So that'll be an 18 tournament. And then they also go to Berkshire with 4 other teams. So that'll be a 6-team tournament. So
it's a perfect, those tournaments and those try matches are a perfect way to really see as much talent as you can in as short amount of time as possible. And that's, I think, what Howland's trying to do. Let's see as many different styles and as different talent levels of volleyball as we can before that tournament starts.
And obviously we have no idea right now as far as the schedule I'm looking at on who those other teams would be and what the competition level will be at those 2 events. But there's still, like you said, going to be a test of endurance and will pay dividends no matter who they're playing. Some other notable games. You said they opened the season at Salem. I think the Hubbard game is a really good test to go to Hubbard on the road. I like that they're going to Cardinal Mooney. And then they'll be tested on those event games. Home against Ursuline will be good too.
I think, yeah, those are going to be some great matchups for Howland, certainly. And of course, you always look for those conference games. And I tell you what, I've seen this Howland team go up against Fitch last year. They took them to 4 sets. They took Fitch to 4 sets. Fitch ultimately won it, but every single one of those sets, super competitive. And I think I've also seen Howland have a very good competitive game against Canfield last year as well. It's a Howland. They're healthy. They can roll against some of the best of them.
And they'll return Alyssa Masucci, who's a name that we're very familiar with. She'll be a mainstay on the outside hitters. Chloe Lopez is on that team as well. She's a pretty good hitter. And they lost their middle in DeSalvo, but I think the younger DeSalvo will step right into that role. I think Jesse, if I'm not mistaken. Jamie is the older senior one and that graduated, and now Jesse DeSalvo will be stepping into that role if I were to guess. Obviously, tryouts are next week, so the rosters will be set, and these coaches will have a much more good idea of what their roster is going to look like, what their rotations are going to look like. That's when we'll start talking to these coaches after tryouts are conducted next week and their rosters are set. Ty, as we get out of the AAC volleyball scene, one of the big teams in the next alphabetical conference, that Buckeye 8 conference, Beaver Local Volleyball. They're one of the most talked about teams every volleyball season. They have a great program with Sarah Lowe, and they continue another season. They open it Wednesday, August 24th will be their first regular season game, and that'll be against St. Clairsville at home. They have a scrimmage at Claymont on the 18th, right before the start of the season. They also will go to Crestview at home. They'll host Crestview and 2 others on the 9th. So if you want some time to get a preview of Beaver Local Volleyball and see them scrimmage, they'll have a home scrimmage against Crestview and 2 other teams on the 9th. That should be fun. On Saturday, the 27th, they go to Minerva. Then they go to Edison. Then they go to Oak Glen. They'll host Claymont. They will host East Liverpool. They will host Harrison Central. They'll go to Dover. They'll go to Steubenville, to Indian Creek, to East Liverpool, home against Edison, home against Steubenville, home against Oak Glen, at Harrison Central, home against Indian Creek. They will be home against Carrollton, and then they will complete the season on October 4th with Weir at home.
And Weir, out of that, I think West Virginia realm, correct?
Yep.
It's Weir, West Virginia. So playing across state lines, but I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, Beaver Local is in that Buckeye 8. We don't have the entire Buckeye 8 signed to YSN, so not a whole lot of all YSN matchups. But no doubt, we talked with Coach Lowe, and she always has that nice Beaver Local backdrop behind her. Press conference-esque to talk about this Beaver Local team. But I think that one matchup you shouted out too, I think Crestview was the one big one I think on there. That's going to be a fun matchup between YSN
It's
teams.
a scrimmage, but it'll still be fun to go see those two teams test each other a little bit.
You're going to want to see it because, if I'm not mistaken, Beaver Local 2, D2 as well? Or
Yes,
they three?
D2, not in the same district as everyone else, but still D2.
You could still see them wind up facing each other. That would be a bigger matchup region.
Because Crestvew's D3. So they won't play each other.
What was Gerard? Gerard's D2 is what we were thinking too. So that's a match to see.
Because they're in different district brackets, you'd have to see where they line up to see if they would match up with each other in a tournament setting. But I think it's interesting that they're scrimmaging Claymont and then playing them in the regular season as well. So they will be very familiar with Claymont when they welcome them in on September 3rd, home game there. Obviously, they have the 2 with East Liverpool. I think this game at Dover on Saturday, September 10th, is going to be a really good test for them too. Dover's a really big Division II school, good volleyball program. That'll be a good test.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Beaver Local is able to do against a lot of these teams we're not super familiar with, but I mean they always play a tough schedule ahead of them. They always have a solid team nonetheless.
Now, I assume that they will still have a couple of games to be scheduled because October 4th is a pretty early end date. So they'll probably try to finalize a couple of teams for that last couple of weeks of the season. Most teams ending on the 15th around there. So maybe one more week of games to be scheduled for Beaver Local before their schedule is solidified.
What is the max you can do in volleyball? 22? Is it same as basketball or is it 20?
22.
22? Okay. I thought it was 22 was the ruling on that. So they definitely have a little bit of room, I think, to make up some games at the end. And I mean, non-conference wise, there's plenty of teams in and out of your division too that I'm sure you can give a call to and try to get scheduled.
Right now they have 20 games, so they still have 2 games where they can schedule games in.
Little bit of room too, and you would probably think you could do like an October 7th. Well, season ends, I think, October 15th. Is that the last day? I'll have to double check to get the exact day, but it's like
October 15th, I believe, is the last day of the regular season, and I think that's a Saturday.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was too. I could be wrong. Double check and get
So sectionals will begin that week of the 17th through the 22nd. Districts will be the next week, the 24th through the 29th, and then regionals will be in the first week of November.
It'll be here quickly, and before you know it, we'll be right here.
That means that they'll be done with districts they'll be almost done with districts, probably in the district finals when football ends the regular season.
That's how quickly volleyball goes, man. And then football's got weeks after that before they get there. So weeks of football after that.
Let's stay in this Buckeye 8 conference real quick and do East Liverpool. Look at their schedule. They will open the season on August 23rd. That's the Tuesday. They will be at Steubenville. Their home opener is Monday, August 29th against Harrison Central. Then they will go to South Range, to Beaver Local. They'll be back home against Oak Glen and Richmond Edison before going to Oak Glen on the road. They will be hosting Beaver Local, hosting Salem, at Harrison Central, hosting Indian Creek, back to South Range. Then they will be home against Carrollton, home against Steubenville, at Edison, at Crestview twice.
Wow.
No, it's just Monday. They have the 2 games listed on Monday consecutively. So just one game at Crestview on the 3rd. They will play the 5th at Indian Creek. They will play Minerva at home on the 8th, and they have a schedule to be determined game scheduled on the 15th for their final game of the year.
That'll be fun to see them, what they can do. East Liverpool, that is. I mean, East Liverpool was a team last year that was solid, 16-7, I believe, overall. They were right there, competitive with Beaver Local the whole way. And I mean, what else do you expect whenever you see those 2 teams together? But I feel like the biggest thing was in those Beaver Local matchups too. That first matchup around, it took Beaver Local 4 sets to to put East Liverpool away. And of course, second time around, Beaver Local was a lot stronger later in the season. I believe it was a home game. Beaver Local ended up taking it. They were undefeated last year in that conference. But East Liverpool has been that one team that I feel like consistently, at least in that conference, that has been able to challenge Beaver Local. And I mean, just going back, because I wanted to remind myself on these scores. 4-set game back on September 25th, 2021. Beaver Local wins set one, or East Liverpool wins set one, 29-27. That was the big one. And then Beaver Local, I think, honestly, after that, East Liverpool used all their energy. It was 25-14, 25-13, 25-12. But that still, I feel like, showcases that East Liverpool has it peaked in the curtain, right? We got to see that East Liverpool has the stones to be able to beat this Beaver Local team. Can you put it all together and do it consistently now?
I stick with the argument that volleyball is such a hard sport to upset a team in.
Well,
Because you got to be the best team, not just in one set, 29-20. You got to be the best team in 3.
It's so hard to. It's so hard to do it in consecutive sets. But I think that was a perfect example of that East Liverpool team last year. They played for that one set. They got that big one-set victory. But Beaver Local, because they're a quality team, they know how to reset themselves. East Liverpool going to get a little bit more mature this year, bringing back some decent talent. I'm excited to see those matchups, especially because the Buckeye 8 could be on the line for those.
So a small correction. You heard me call out at South Range twice for their schedule. They were originally scheduled to travel to South Range on September 3rd. That game got moved to South Range on September 24th. So they'll be playing each other once. It'll be at South Range, but instead of the 3rd, it'll be on the 24th. Still a Saturday, 12:30 start time for that game.
That should be still an exciting matchup, though. Either way, because I think it always has a solid team.
It'll be right there. I think their game against Crestview is always pretty competitive. They host Salem. That'll be good. They get into our area a little bit more than Beaver Local does.
Liverpool does. They've scheduled a lot more YSN teams, it seems like, this year too.
Crestview, South Range, Salem, and then Beaver Local are their all YSN matchups.
Yeah.
And then Edison as well.
Edison, of course, yeah, the Wildcats. I was about to shout out the Wildcats as well. We got to talk with Coach Colopio on the football season as well.
East Liverpool will open up their scrimmages on Wednesday, August 10th. They'll be at Boardman for a scrimmage.
That'll be fun too. East Liverpool and Boardman for a scrimmage will be interesting.
So that'll be all fun and games. Let's see, 1:48. I think we're going to take a break. We'll come back and we'll recap the day and get you ready for the weekend on Running Point. Brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our family's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
Check us out online at MyersFamilyINS.com or find us on Facebook.
It's a new year at Acura of Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi with huge savings on over 350 fully inspected vehicles. We have cars, trucks, SUVs, minivans, and work vehicles. We don't have it, our team will find it. We aim for 100% credit approval with payments as low as $99 per month. And as always, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. For a great vehicle and a great experience, come see why everyone is stopping by at Acura of Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting, where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
You know, being able to have success on the football field and the basketball court and just every aspect of, my sports career is now documented. And one of the greatest things about high school sports is to be able to talk about it for the rest of your life and to look back on the days with my buddies whenever we had some battles, whether it was our rival or just another game. And I could go back and look at it and not only myself but my family members, my teammates, and it's something that will last a lifetime. My name is Parker Sherry, and my sports network is your sports network.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com. As always, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as we begin to wrap up this last show of the month of July and we venture into August. The official practices start on Monday. It's when the football teams get to put on their pads. It's when volleyball and soccer teams start to tryouts. Here we go. Here it is. Monday is when it starts.
Summer flew by. It really did. I mean, we're just a few weeks away removed from high school football season, and actually, to be completely honest, I think it's 20 days now is the exact countdown.
It depends if you count today still or not. We're like halfway through today because today is 21, so it's like the account Friday still
20 and a half days through.
Are we deep enough in Friday to count it still?
We do open up on Thursday, though. Remember.
All right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so if 21 days till the first Friday, but then 20 days until the first day of the high school football season.
Plenty of first week matchups that are going to be in the spotlight. We've been shouting them out all week long. We'll of course continue to pick them too, as we always do with our football. Football is always a big pick 'em type of segment too. So we're excited to start picking the football games again. That's going to be exciting too, especially that first week. I don't know what's going to happen in those Thursday games.
I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be awesome.
You just have so many talented players that are going to be featured those first weeks too in matchups that you don't usually get to see. We highlighted West Branch and Campfield. Like, that's that right there. Brock Lowry, Drew DeShields. Like, what more are you asking for week one, day one of the football season? Like, that's a great matchup.
We've already talked to some coaches that have really interesting week one matchups as well.
We have, and if I'm not mistaken, too, I'm trying to remember every single team that has a matchup in August 18th, and I want to say that Crestview is another one of those teams that opens.
Salem. Yep.
Yeah, Crestview Salem. You're right. That's another team. I mean, another great quarterback battle that we're going to see with Jackson Johnson, and he's going to be trying to do things. Life without Blaze X-Line now, so you're going to have to figure out ways to win without your number one A1 receiver.
I think they have plenty of things to play with in their tool bag of weapons. So they were a dynamic offense, and it wasn't just two players doing it. So
no, definitely not.
Mr. J, Mr. Double J, and then the Salem Quakers will be just fine. That'll wrap up the Friday edition of Running Point, Ty, and you are going to have some more fun in Tennessee as we are joining you from your bed and breakfast in Tennessee, Airbnb.
Yeah, Airbnb gonna be getting out, enjoying SummerSlam tomorrow.
You need to take that picture back home and put it up on your wall in your closet.
This is it. That's gonna be my decoration for at home now. No, it should be fun. It should be exciting too, and you'll get to talk with EB again. It looks like on Tuesday next week. I'll be back Monday, but Tuesday next week, EB is gonna be joining you back in, so that'll be fun.
It will be fun. We'll get EB back on Tuesday while you're traveling back to Ohio, and then back to your regularly scheduled program on Wednesday, and that's when the last day of volleyball tryouts, last day of soccer tryouts. So all the coaches that we've reached out to has said wait until after August 3rd. So after Wednesday, here they come. Like all the other fall sports. So.
We're excited for it. So it'll be definitely fun times here on Ysn. We'll continue our fall sports previews as we gear you up for August 18th, opening day.
We want to thank Tyler Armstrong for coming on the show today and joining us from Texas to talk about not just his time with the Astro Falcons, but his future in Georgia as he continues his baseball career at East Georgia State College in college baseball. So we thank him for coming on. We hit you with a couple of volleyball schedules. We'll keep doing that as the weeks go on, and we'll go over some of these big matchups that are going on in our volleyball and soccer.
A lot of volleyball to get to as well, and don't forget we got plenty of conferences. We also got our independents as well. So don't think we're forgetting about you, Heartland Christian. I know not typical football team over there, but we know fall sports runs through volleyball as well.
We're not forgetting about Louisville either.
Louisville is coming to Fitch this year, and Louisville took Fitch to 5 sets last year. Leopards are the real deal. I love calling Louisville sports because they bring a crowd every time. It's so fun watching Louisville.
You bring that swagger with that light baby blue, and it's always fun to see the Leopards in the gym.
I've been able to go down to Louisville almost every sports season since I've started, at least once or twice, and I always try to find at least one time to sneak my way down to Louisville. I absolutely love being in that community. I love being in that gym. I'm lucky that they get to come to visit Austintown a couple of times, though, this year.
I'm a bad luck charm. I went there for my first time ever being in that gym last year for their district basketball game on the girls' side, and I wasn't even calling the game. I was just there to take some pictures and just enjoy the atmosphere of Louisville, and it didn't go that way. It didn't go their way. On the buzzer. It was a buzzer beater.
They have a lot of great talent, though, at Louisville, and I expect them to be just as competitive. I mean, losing seasons aren't acceptable in Louisville athletics, too. They definitely want winners. They support their teams, and we'll look forward to getting into a little bit of Louisville sports here soon.
All right. All of that and more coming up next week. We'll be back on Monday from 12 to 2. We're taking a 70-hour break.
70-hour break,
and,
yeah.
We'll be back on Monday. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3. Power Hour from 3 to 4. And we'll see you on Monday. Thank you. Have a great